Hello, my name is Milen, and this is my channel where I talk about everything style. As a personal stylist, I just want to make you feel your most beautiful, your most natural self. So today I'm talking about soft dramatics. They go right after the dramatics and they have all the same angularity, the tallness, where they look tall. But they've got this softness just sitting on top of that very angular, long line that is their body. Let's dive right in. Here are some characteristics of a soft dramatic. They are still angular in their bone structure. However, they have softness on top, fleshiness on top. That's in their arms, on their legs a little bit. For women, they've got hips on top of a very strong angular body type. They'll all look very tall. They don't have to be tall, but typically they are, and they appear to be very tall, very stately, if you want to use that word, or regal is what dramatics tend to be called. And so this is a very exotic, regal, bigger, larger frame in general. With that elongation, that long look to them, they've got really long arms, long legs, have big hands and feet. So the width of their hands, the width of their feet are long and just wide in general. For women, they'll have an hourglass shape to them on top of that angular frame. The bones on their face is still sharp, but it'll have like softness sitting on top of that sharpness, and it is quite that dramatic sharpness to it with just a little bit of romance on top of that. And not every soft dramatic will have such a dramatic face, because sometimes our essences are more in our faces and it may not match all of the body lines. So I like to always say, focus more on how all of these characteristics fit in your body lines, how your body looks. For men, it's still that same length, that angular kind of lanky vibe that they have on a body. However, you add bulk to it, just a little bit more bulk. And that doesn't always mean muscle bulk-wise, but fleshiness. So as they build muscle, they'll still have just a layer of this kind of fleshier juiciness on top of those muscles, whereas a dramatic is quite lean muscles only, and they don't tend to have that fleshiness on top. I mean, they can if they gain weight, but it's not their dominant feature. Here's how you know you're not a soft dramatic. If you're all lean, and even as you lose or gain weight, if you only have softness or fleshiness when you gain weight and not when you are very lean or skinnier or whatever, then that is probably an indication that you're not a soft dramatic. If you have a very boyish or super straight frame, meaning no curves for a woman, if you are quite petite and look short, then you're definitely not a soft dramatic. If you have short legs and arms and look like you have short legs and arms, then definitely not. And lastly, if you kind of have a vibe of kind of a boyish or girlish, like younger, youthfulness to you, that really doesn't fit into a soft dramatic. You can have an essence of younger and youthfulness, but your dominant essence, overall look is gonna be quite mature, with that romance kind of flowing through, if that makes any sense. So the overall structure of an outfit that will look amazing on a soft dramatic is drapey or kind of wrapped looks, because it mimics their body lines, essentially. They've got these very angular points to their body, and then the clothes would just kind of wrap around it, kind of like a present on top of a very angular box with sharp angles. When you put a ribbon on top of it, That's that softness added onto a very angular, squarish box. That's what soft dramatics are. So they'll look very good in those kind of like added on top of an angular, because they have some fleshiness and softness like in their bust or their arms, and for women in their hips, for men sometimes a little bit in the body, like the torso. So anything that kind of wraps but still has elements of angularity. And they'll look really good again with those really long lines. So something that has like a long coat or long dresses, and everything is monochromatic, that creates to our eyes like one long line. Like if I'm gonna check you out, I'm gonna look from the top to the bottom, one continuous line, because it's all one color. They look really good in large, just overall patterns like everywhere. It doesn't overwhelm them, whereas if I were to wear that, the pattern I have on today is quite minimal and not in your face, whereas they want everything in their face. That's what soft dramatics are, because they've got that drama underneath it. So they'll look good in like big polka dots everywhere, or swirls, big flowers. And keeping those patterns kind of rounded is kind of honoring that softness that's on them. And then the bigness of the pattern is honoring that dramatic, angular, strong side of their spectrum. Even though they look great in round shapes, they do look good with some structure to the round shapes. So it kind of keeps it together with those drapey kind of curved shapes in the clothing. That being said, they actually do look better in lighter weight fabrics than dramatics, who look good in very stiff and structured fabrics. This is lightweight fabrics, but in a structured, flowier sense. So tops for dramatics, this is interesting because they can actually handle a lot of angularity in their tops. So for example, what I'm wearing today, something with a square neckline, V necklines, cowl necks, they look good in turtlenecks. So you're keeping that essence or that element of angularity. However, the fabric that those clothes are in are less stiff and less structured. So it's honoring, again, the angularity with a little bit of that softness, that romantic side of it. For their bottoms, they look really good in really long, straight cuts. They can handle a little bit of billowing, but typically wide leg pants where it flares at the bottom looks really good on them, because it just creates more of that angular and that tallness that they are. And it just looks not off on them. It's not going to drag them down. It's not going to make them look stumpy as someone who's short. And with that, they look good with high-waisted pants or kind of mid-waist, I guess, like high mid-rise to high-rise. High-rise because it just takes those long legs and makes them even longer, which always looks good with someone who has lots of long parts to long lines in their body. Skirts should be long and maybe maxi, again, same as dramatics. They'll also look really good with kind of like a midi to their knees, but still keeping it kind of a long line with like a little bit extra flair that the dramatics maybe can't handle, because there's that romance, maybe a little bit of frilling. I don't think frilling is a word, but like frilliness, flowiness looks a little bit better on them. They do look really good with kind of a slit in those skirts, because that is that romantic side that you're trying to kind of pull through. That might look a little off on a dramatic, but looks great on a soft dramatic. For their shorts, they do look good in kind of those high-waisted to mid-waist, mid-rise shorts in terms of that part. And again, keeping it monochromatic kind of keeps that long line, because shorts are short. They're not going to be down to your calves. And so to keep that long line, keeping it in a monochromatic look really helps to honor the fact that they are one long line. And so men, if they're gonna wear shorts, like they'll look really good if their top matches their shorts. And for women, same thing. Or if women are wearing a romper, all one kind of large patterned romper would look really cool. For dressier looks, they're going to look really good in sharp collars and things like that. However, again, thinking more fabric to honor the softness, that romantic side of them, it'll actually still look normal on them to have sharpness mixed in with softness. So yeah, collared shirts, but in a softer linen maybe, or kind of a soft cotton that moves. Anything that moves, that's drapey, that's flowy, but with sharp angles to it is perfect. For dresses, you want them to be still fitted because you want it to kind of hug the curves. For dramatics, you kind of can get away with a little bit of space in between the outfit and your body because you're all angular. But a soft dramatic can look good with a little bit of tightness or fittedness around the curves, so it kind of hugs the curves. That looks just sensational on them. And again, honoring some of that angular with kind of swooped or like off the shoulder looks. They'll look good with kind of flowy or slightly puffy, I don't want to call it puffy, but flowier shoulder elements to the dress. Slight romantic details throughout could be really beautiful. Keeping it a longer line, meaning a longer fit to them, and that's just gonna look Sweaters, just like the dramatics, you want to keep kind of a thinner knit to them just because you don't want too much bulk. They've got that softness, but not in an extreme fashion in any way. So we really do want that angularity to still be there, and that's what that smaller knit fabric sweater will be. They'll look good, just like dramatics, in turtlenecks. Slightly flowier cardigans, so maybe something that has a little bit more billowing in the sleeves or even in the body looks kind of cool on them. Doesn't have to be super tight for sweaters. It can be because it hugs the curves, but they can get away with both on that spectrum. For jackets, they'll look amazing in kind of wrap form jackets, so trench coats that wrap, or even like flowier jackets that wrap around their bodies, especially for women. It's hugging their curves. Men also look really good with that wrapped look on a jacket. Big, large kind of collars are going to look good. If they're slightly rounded, that's nice. They'll also look good in big, angular collars as well because they have that angularity to pull it off. But again, keeping that fabric really soft and romantic, then that's like just that sweet spot. For shoes, you can go with pointy shoes. That has that angularity there. Stiletto, men can have pointy, kind of like interesting, a little bit over the top shoes, and that looks really cool on them. For jewelry, you want bold, you want that regalness that comes through. So they can handle like large statement pieces and not get overwhelmed by it or look off with it. And that is it for the soft dramatics. That is just a little taste of what they look good in and what their lines look like. I'm gonna get into more depth into it later on. I know it can get really technical, and I understand, so I will go further into detail. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos. If you have any questions about anything I talked about here or in other videos, please leave comments below. You can email me. All right, I hope you all have a beautiful and stylish day, afternoon, night. I don't care what time you're watching this, just have a good one. Bye.